What's up, guys? Krusty Cole back here with another Detroit Lions video for you guys. This week we got the Atlanta Falcons. But before I dive into that, I want to talk just a little recap of what happened last week. A lot of things happened in that game that I wasn't expecting. I didn't expect the Lions to do so well defensively as a whole, but particularly with the run defense. I expected Robinson to have a good game against us, and I also predicted a Jags win because a big part due to that. And I didn't really trust the Lions' offense too much, but they really came out in especially with the run game that we had. Swift had a really good game, had a big run in there, had a couple TDs too. AP added some couple runs, and then you had Kerryon Johnson doing his thing a little bit, and obviously Kenny Golladay from the receiving standpoint did really good. He didn't have any touchdowns, but he did have a 100-yard game, and Stafford had a so-so game. Could do better, but at the end of the day, we got the W, and that's what this league's about. Wins and W's. Doesn't matter if it's ugly or nice. But now on to this week, we got the Atlanta Falcons. What should we call this? The Lions and Falcons game. Is this like the choke bowl? I mean, nobody knows how to choke as well as these two teams. I mean, Atlanta might have the edge over us, but we've been doing a lot of that lately, especially this season. And stemming, I want to say from last season, actually, coming into this season, we've had a lot of blown leads, blown fourth quarter leads, or just blown leads in general. But Atlanta's been in the same boat as us, so their fans know and their players know what it's like to, not be able to take care of business. And I think a big part of that is once you got to get a lead, you not only have to be able to sustain something running the football on the ground, but your defense has got to be able to buckle up and, close some of those games out. And unfortunately for both of these teams, we've seen that more often than not, they're not able to do that. But going to this game, I think a lot of the keys to look at here is defensively, both teams played inspiring defense this past week. With Quinn being fired, I mean, the Falcons had their first game, with their interim head coach, and we'll see how things end up for the Falcons, but they really played, not only offensively, they played really well, and defensively, they got a lot of turnovers, 3 interceptions off of Kirk Cousins, so, they really did their thing out there on defense, so it was very surprising. They played with a lot of high energy, getting to the quarterback, pressures, playing great in the secondary, just playing great as a full unit, and it's kind of the same thing we saw with the Detroit Lions, so I don't know if it's just like a flash in the pan from both of these defenses, but the consistency from what we've seen from these defenses like earlier in the season is not what we saw last week. So it's kind of like hard to guess what we're going to see in this game. But I'm probably going to be leaning more towards what we saw earlier in the season as opposed to what we just saw this last week, since that's just like one game sample compared to multiple games what we've seen from these defenses. From the Falcons offense, I mean, I think they've underachieved in a couple games, but they definitely did their thing yesterday. You got so many dogs on that offense to feed. You got Julio Jones, you got Calvin Ridley. I mean, they got guys all over the place, and I like their running backs too. They got a nice committee there. I like our running backs too. We've got 3 good guys, and Golladay, we've got Marvin Jones Jr. So this is a game that could honestly feels like it could be a shootout. And I have to say, on the flip side, if those defenses show up from last week for both of these teams, it could actually be more in the less of a shootout and more of a mid-range, maybe 20 points, 21, 24 kind of game, something like that, or 17-24. I can see it being low scoring, and I can also see it being a shootout. It really just depends on how these teams, if they're going to build upon what they did, especially on defense going into this week. So it's kind of hard to gauge what each defense is going to be doing. But as far as who I have winning this game, I mean, this is kind of like that Saints game. It's really tough for me to decide. I'm really on the fence on which team is actually going to win this, because I like some things about the Lions in this matchup, and I like some things about the Falcons in this matchup. But ultimately, I look at both defenses. I don't really know what to expect out of those defenses. So then it goes to this for me is the offenses. Which offense do I feel has been more consistent to me since the start of week 1 all the way up to this week? And honestly, I got to go with the Atlanta Falcons. I think their offense has been more consistent. It's kind of what I said about the Jags last week, why I felt they would beat us, but I wasn't anticipating our defense, coming in and playing so well. And obviously our run game was good, but I really feel that Atlanta's offense has been more consistent than us. The only problem they've really had is when they get those leads, like the Lions, similarly, is when they get those leads, they just struggle to keep them, where there's like some bad coaching decisions, maybe a turnover here and there, or just a bad call. Like sometimes the officials, a bad call will keep another team in it, but I really feel like Atlanta just... their record, don't let their record fool you. I think they're a much better team than a 1-5 team. They should at least have 2 to 3 more wins, but obviously they're still like they're not a great team, but nor are the Lions. But I think the Falcons are a lot better. They're not as terrible as their record says. And it's kind of like I said, it's one of those games. It could go either way, but I'm leaning towards the Falcons only because I just feel they've been much more consistent on offense. Like with the Lions, it's just like we're like a bag of tricks. Like one quarter we're looking okay, the next quarter it's like where do we go to, and then we'll show up maybe for the fourth quarter, or it's vice versa. We'll do good for like 3 quarters, like in the first game of the season against the Chicago Bears, and then the fourth quarter it's like honestly that falls more on our defense. I don't think our offense really needed to do much to finish that game. Maybe a couple first downs would have helped, but ultimately our defense really failed us in that game. But just in general, the Lions' offense is just like, it's like you don't know what you're really getting. If the run game, if we can run the ball as well as we did against the Jags, I mean, not only in this game, but going forward, I mean, the Lions could make some noise. They could possibly even win this game. But as far as consistency, I like the Falcons' offense a little bit more, and I just don't know what to think of either defenses right now because, I mean, they looked good this last week, but, that could be, them just, because they know, like, with the situation, Quinn getting fired and then Patricia being on the hot seat, the defense might have played more inspired. So we're going to see what these teams are really about, especially going forward, if what we saw was just a little tease or if this is the legit thing. But, yeah, Lions fans, Falcons fans, let me know what you think. My final thoughts, any of these teams has a 2-digit lead in the fourth quarter, do not hold your breath because this one could go down to the wire. Maybe we'll even get a tie. There could be a choke. We'll see what happens. Lions fans, Falcons fans, let me know what you think. And go Lions, and I'll see you guys next week.